Jack Bennett adjusted his tie for the fifth time as he waited outside the massive doors of the Galactic Cooperative Summit. His hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the 3 cups of coffee he had gulped down to combat the jet lag. Except it wasn't jet lag. What do you call it when you've traveled through 17 light years in an alien vessel? Space lag, he supposed. Mr. Bennett, they're ready for you, said the human liaison, a young woman who looked as nervous as he felt. Jack nodded and picked up his tablet. Earth's future might depend on how well he presented humanity's technological capabilities today. No pressure. The doors slid open silently, revealing a circular chamber filled with beings from across the galaxy. Some looked almost human. Others defied description. Jack tried not to stare as he walked to the center platform. The human representative, Jack Bennett of Earth's National Aeronautics and Space Administration, announced a mechanical voice. Jack cleared his throat. Thank you for allowing Earth to participate in this summit. We're honored to be considered for associate membership in the Galactic Cooperative. A tall, blue-skinned alien with 4 arms rose from his seat. I am High Engineer Zortek of the Xelarian Dominion. We have reviewed your submitted designs. Please explain how your propulsion systems function. Jack brought up the diagrams on the main display. Our most advanced ships use ion propulsion for deep space missions. We're also developing plasma drives that... A sound like grinding metal interrupted him. It took Jack a moment to realize it was laughter. Xelarian laughter. You propel yourselves with ionized particles. Zortek's translator conveyed his mocking tone perfectly. My younglings build such toys before they complete their first molt. More aliens joined in the laughter. Jack felt his face grow hot. Our technology may seem basic compared to yours, Jack admitted, but we've accomplished a lot in the short time since. You burn chemical fuels to escape your atmosphere, Zortek continued, like primitive savages huddled around fire. How did you even find your way here? The chamber filled with more alien sounds of amusement. Jack noticed a few species weren't laughing, including a group of small, furry creatures who watched him with what seemed like sympathy. A tall woman in a navy blue uniform stood up from the human delegation. Admiral Susan Wright of Earth Space Command wasn't known for her patience. We may be new to the galactic community, she said sharply, but humans have something that may surprise you. Adaptability and innovation. Zortek's upper arms crossed while his lower ones gestured dismissively. Innovation. You've shown us nothing but combustion toys and primitive ion drives. Jack felt something snap inside him. 20 years of being told his theories were impossible, his designs too radical, his ideas too far-fetched, all coming to a head. Give us 1 Earth year, he said clearly, surprising himself. 1 year, and we'll build a ship that will outperform any vessel in your fleet. The translation echoed around the chamber, followed by silence, then a wave of that grinding Xelarian laughter again. Impossible, Zortek said. Even with our help, your species couldn't achieve in 1 year what took others centuries. We don't want your help, Jack replied. Just your witnesses, 1 year from today. Admiral Wright stepped forward. Earth formally accepts this challenge. In 1 Earth year, we will demonstrate a ship of our own design and construction that will surpass current cooperative capabilities. A murmur ran through the chamber as the alien representatives conferred among themselves. Finally, a tall, willowy being with iridescent skin stood. The Grand Arbiter of the Cooperative raised a 7-fingered hand for silence. The challenge is acknowledged, the Arbiter said. In 1 Earth solar cycle, we will reconvene to witness this demonstration. Should humans succeed, full membership shall be granted immediately. Should they fail, the Arbiter paused meaningfully. We won't fail, Jack said. As he and Admiral Wright left the chamber, she gripped his arm tightly. I hope you know what you've just done, Bennett, she whispered. Jack nodded grimly. I've just bought us a year to do the impossible. The meeting room at NASA headquarters buzzed with angry voices. Jack sat quietly at the end of the table while senior engineers shouted over each other. You've doomed us to humiliation. said Greg Powell, the head of propulsion. He slammed his fist on the table. 1 year to outperform ships that have been perfected over centuries. Impossible. Maybe we can ask for more time, suggested another engineer. Surely they'd understand. And look even weaker. Admiral Wright cut in. She stood at the front of the room, arms crossed. We can't back down now. Jack finally spoke up. I have designs that could work. The room fell silent, then erupted in laughter. Your theoretical nonsense again, Bennett. Greg shook his head. Your equations don't even follow conventional physics. That's the point, Jack said quietly. We can't beat them with their own technology. We need something different. Admiral Wright studied him. Different how? Jack pulled out his tablet and projected a complex diagram onto the wall screen. I've been studying the alien ships that visited Earth. They all use variations of the same principles. But there's another approach, one they might have overlooked. The room grew quiet as Jack explained his theory. Most of the faces showed doubt, but a few looked intrigued. Even if this could work, said Dr. Linda Foster, we'd need years of testing. We have 1 year, Admiral Wright reminded them. And we're going to use it. Project Longshot begins today. She looked around the room. I need volunteers. The silence was painful. Finally, Jack raised his hand. I'm in. Of course you are, Greg muttered. It's your crazy idea. A woman at the back raised her hand next. I'll help. Jack recognized Dr. Olivia Martinez, a quantum physicist whose papers he had studied. Her theories on quantum field manipulation had influenced his own work. Me too, said a young man with bright red hair and freckles. I'm Alan Parker, Materials Division. You'll need someone to handle the computer systems, said another voice. Sam Rodriguez stood up, his lanky frame towering over the others. And AI integration. Admiral Wright nodded. Anyone else? No other hands went up. Fine, she said. You four are now the core team for Project Longshot. You'll get a workspace at the old Hangar E facility. Limited budget, limited staff. The rest of you are dismissed. As the others filed out, many giving Jack looks of pity or disgust, Admiral Wright approached the small group. I'm putting my career on the line for this, she told them. Don't make me regret it. After she left, the four looked at each other. So, Sam said, breaking the awkward silence, we're supposed to revolutionize space travel in 12 months. With no support and probably active resistance, Olivia added. And beat the most advanced species in the galaxy, Alan finished. Jack looked at his new team. Yes to all of that. But I truly believe it's possible. Show us, Olivia said simply. The next day, they gathered at Hangar E, an abandoned facility from the early space program. Dust covered everything. Equipment was outdated. The computer systems were generations behind current technology. Home sweet home, Sam said sarcastically. Jack unrolled large sheets of paper on a dusty table. I like to sketch the old-fashioned way, he explained as the others gathered around. What they saw made their eyes widen. This breaks every rule of engineering, Ellen whispered. And physics, Olivia added, tracing a formula with her finger. That's why it might work, Jack said. The aliens follow their established rules. We need to write new ones. Sam looked up from the designs. If we actually build this, what do we call it? Jack thought for a moment. Audacity, he said finally, because that's what we'll need most. They all nodded, and without another word, began to work. 3 months passed in a blur of failures. The floor of Hangar E was littered with broken prototypes and crumpled papers. Dark circles had formed under everyone's eyes, and the coffee machine never stopped running. It's not working, Alan said one morning, staring at the melted remains of their 15th engine attempt. The materials just can't handle the energy output. Jack rubbed his tired eyes. They had been trying to create a new type of metal alloy that could withstand the forces his design required. So far, everything had either melted or exploded. Maybe Greg was right. Sam muttered. Maybe this is impossible. Olivia hadn't spoken in hours. She sat in the corner, scribbling equations and occasionally staring into space. Suddenly, she stood up. "We're thinking about this wrong," she said. The men looked at her. She rarely spoke unless she had something important to say. "The quantum field doesn't need to be contained by the metal," she continued. "It can be shaped by it." She walked to the whiteboard and began writing a new set of equations. Jack studied her work, his excitement growing. "You're saying we don't need to fight against the quantum forces. We need to work with them," Olivia finished, like water flowing around rocks. They worked through the night, redesigning the entire propulsion system based on Olivia's insight. By morning, they had a new prototype ready for testing. The small engine sat in the center of their test chamber. It looked nothing like conventional engines, more like a strange metal sculpture with curves and gaps where solid parts should be. "Everyone behind the shield," Jack ordered. "Sam, start recording." They ducked behind the protective barrier. Sam activated the sensors while Jack initiated the startup sequence. The engine hummed softly. No explosion, no melting metal. "Power at 10%, Jack said, slowly increasing the input. The humming grew louder. Strange blue light began to shine through the gaps in the engine's structure. 20%, 30. At 50%, something unexpected happened. The air around the engine seemed to ripple, like heat waves on a hot road. The sensors began giving impossible readings. "Jack, the gravitational measurements are going crazy," Sam reported. 70%. The engine rose several inches off its platform without any visible thrust. "It's working," Ellen whispered in disbelief. "Full power," Jack said, his voice steady despite his racing heart. The engine shot upward, stopped just before hitting the ceiling, then hovered perfectly still. The blue light pulsed rhythmically. The sensors continued to show impossible readings. "It's not just working," Olivia said. "It's exceeding our predictions by a factor of 10. Jack could hardly believe what he was seeing. "We've done it. We've created a propulsion system that manipulates gravity itself." News of their breakthrough spread quickly through NASA, then to the military, and finally to world governments. Within days, delegations began arriving at Hangar E. "We've been authorized to provide whatever resources you need," said the president's science advisor. "Every nation is contributing technology, materials, and personnel." Jack's team soon grew from 4 to 40, then 400. The old hangar became too small, and they moved to a massive new facility built specifically for Project Longshot. Construction of the Audacity began in orbit, with components manufactured on Earth and shipped to space. The design was unconventional, smaller than expected, with strange curves and gaps similar to the prototype engine. Olivia's quantum field theory was expanded and refined. Alan developed new materials that channeled quantum energy rather than containing it. Sam created an AI system that could make adjustments at speeds no human could match. 6 months after they began, Admiral Wright visited the orbital construction site. "I just received word," she told Jack as they watched workers assemble the ship's unique hull. "Our alien friends have sent observers. They're monitoring our progress." Jack smiled. "Good. Let them watch. Are we going to be ready?" Jack looked through the viewport at Earth below, then back at the half-built Audacity. "We will be," he said, "and they won't know what hit them." The progress on the Audacity was swift, but not without problems. Jack looked at the damaged circuit board in his hands and frowned. This was the third system failure this week. "Someone cut these connections deliberately," he told Sam, pointing to the clean edges of the severed wires. Sam took the board and examined it. "This isn't an accident. Someone's trying to slow us down." Security around the project had been tight from the beginning. Everyone working on the Audacity had been carefully screened. But as the ship grew closer to completion, strange accidents became more frequent. "We need to tell Admiral Wright," Olivia said, joining them. She looked exhausted, like all of them. 8 months into the project, everyone was working 16-hour days. Tell me what? Admiral Wright asked, walking into the lab. She had been making weekly visits to check on their progress. Jack showed her the damaged circuit board. We think someone is sabotaging the project. The Admiral's face hardened. I was afraid of this. There are many who don't want to see humans succeed. You think aliens are behind this? Ellen asked, looking up from his workstation. Or humans working for alien interests, Wright replied. Not everyone believes humanity should join the galactic community as equals. Some would prefer we remain dependent on alien technology. She assigned additional security to the project. Armed guards now stood at every entrance. All components were checked and double-checked before installation. Despite the precautions, problems continued. A power surge nearly destroyed the main computer. A small fire broke out in the materials lab. Key files went missing from secure servers. Each setback cost them precious time. With 3 months left before the demonstration, they still hadn't completed the main propulsion system. We need to test the quantum drive in real conditions, Jack insisted during a tense meeting. The simulations show it's not ready, Sam argued. The power fluctuations are still too unpredictable. Simulations aren't enough, Jack said. We need actual data. They agreed to run a small-scale test on the partially completed drive. Alan would monitor the structural integrity, while Olivia observed the quantum field effects. Sam would manage the test from the control room. The test began well. The quantum drive activated smoothly, creating the familiar blue glow. Readings showed stable power flow. Increasing to 50%, Jack called out. The drive hummed louder. The blue glow brightened. Structure holding, Alan reported. Temperature within acceptable limits. Quantum field is stable, Olivia added. Ready for 60%. Jack was about to increase the power when a warning light flashed on his console. We have an anomaly in power distribution. Sam's voice came through the speakers. Something's feeding extra energy into the system. Before Jack could respond, the quantum drive's blue glow suddenly intensified. Warning alarms blared throughout the facility. Shut it down, Jack yelled. Sam tried to cut the power, but nothing happened. Controls aren't responding. The quantum drive began to vibrate. The blue glow turned white. Everyone out, Jack shouted. He grabbed Olivia's arm and pulled her toward the exit. Alan was closest to the drive, checking a monitoring station. He looked up at Jack's shout, but before he could move, there was a blinding flash. The explosion knocked Jack and Olivia off their feet. Emergency systems activated, spraying fire suppression foam throughout the lab. When Jack could see again, the quantum drive was a smoking ruin, and Alan lay motionless beside it. Medical teams rushed in. As they loaded Alan onto a stretcher, Jack saw the burns covering his friend's arms and face. Will he be okay? Olivia asked the head doctor. We'll do our best, was all he would say. That night, government officials called Jack to an emergency meeting. Perhaps it's time to consider a diplomatic solution, suggested the Secretary of Defense. We could negotiate for more time. Jack looked around the table at the doubtful faces. No, he said firmly. We're not giving up. Not when we're so close. 3 months isn't enough time to rebuild, someone pointed out. Then we'll work faster, Jack replied. Whatever it takes. 2 months before the demonstration date, Jack sat alone in the lab. His eyes burned from lack of sleep. Coffee cups littered his desk. He stared at diagrams and equations that seemed to blur together. Ellen was still in the hospital, recovering slowly. The doctors said he would live, but his hands might never be the same. The thought weighed heavily on Jack's mind. The door opened, and Olivia walked in. You should get some rest, she said. Jack shook his head. No time. We need to rebuild the quantum drive and figure out who's sabotaging us. You won't solve either problem if you collapse, she said firmly. She placed a sandwich next to him. Eat, then sleep for at least 4 hours. Jack took a bite of the sandwich without really tasting it. Every time we make progress, something goes wrong. It's like we're fighting against the laws of physics themselves. Olivia sat across from him. Maybe that's the problem. What do you mean? We've been trying to create a ship that can compete with alien technology, but we're using human methods, human thinking. She tapped the diagrams. We're trying to catch up to them, but what if there's a different path? Jack considered her words. A uniquely human path. He pushed aside his old designs and pulled out a fresh sheet of paper. What if we stopped asking how the aliens would solve this problem and started asking how only humans would approach it? For the next few hours, they rethought everything. By morning, Jack had a new design, smaller, simpler, but based on principles no alien engineer would consider. Sam arrived to find them still working. "You two look terrible," he said, but strangely happy. "We've been thinking wrong," Jack explained, showing him the new designs. "We don't need to beat the aliens at their own game. We need to change the game entirely." Sam studied the diagrams. This could work, but we'd need to start from scratch with only 2 months left. "Then we better get started," Jack said. They'd rebuilt the team, adding security personnel who watched every step of the process. Jack hardly left the facility, working until he could barely stand. More than once, Olivia or Sam found him asleep at his desk. One night, as Jack worked alone, he heard a noise from the storage area. He went to investigate and found a technician tampering with components. "What are you doing?" Jack demanded. The man spun around, pulling out a small device. "Stay back." "You're the saboteur," Jack said, recognizing the man from the orbital construction team. "You don't understand what you're doing," the technician said. "Some technologies are not meant for humans yet. The balance of power must be maintained." "Who are you working for?" "The Accelarians." The man laughed. "The Accelarians are just as blind as you. There are older species in the cooperative who maintain order. They decide who gets what technology and when." Guards arrived, alerted by security cameras. As they took the saboteur away, Jack realized something important. They had scared someone powerful. Their technology wasn't just good, it was threatening. With the saboteur caught, work progressed quickly. The new design took shape, smaller and more elegant than their original plans. 3 weeks before the deadline, Jack collapsed during a test. He woke up in the medical bay with Olivia, Sam, and Admiral Wright looking down at him. "Doctor says it's exhaustion," Wright told him. "He wants you to rest for at least a week." "We don't have a week," Jack protested, trying to sit up. "The ship is nearly finished," Sam said. "The quantum drive is installed and functioning perfectly. And we've added additional security measures," Olivia added. "No one can sabotage it now." Jack shook his head. "I need to oversee the final calibrations." Admiral Wright pushed him gently back onto the bed. "Right now, you need to recover." "That's an order, Bennett." Jack wanted to argue but was too tired. As his eyes closed, he whispered, "Wake me if anything happens." He slept for 3 days straight. When he woke, Alan was sitting beside his bed, his bandaged hands resting in his lap. "Welcome back," Alan said with a small smile. "You look worse than I do." Jack managed a weak laugh. "How's the ship?" "Ready for your final inspection," Alan replied. "We're going to show those aliens what humans can really do." The day of the demonstration arrived with clear skies and a sense of nervous energy. Earth's orbital station had been expanded to accommodate the alien delegates. Ships from 20 different species hung in space nearby, their strange designs a stark contrast to the simple human vessels. Jack stood in the Audacity's control room, running final checks on all systems. The ship was small compared to alien vessels, about the size of an old naval destroyer. Its hull had an unusual shape with curves and gaps that made it look unfinished to the untrained eye. "All systems are green," Sam reported from his station. His fingers moved quickly over the controls, making last-minute adjustments to the AI systems. Olivia monitored the quantum drive, field stability at optimal levels. Alan, his face and arms still showing healing burns, managed a smile from his seat. Structural integrity at 100%. Jack nodded to each of them. They had worked themselves to exhaustion, faced sabotage, and overcome seemingly impossible challenges. No matter what happened next, he was proud of what they had accomplished. "They're ready for us," Admiral Wright's voice came through the comm system. "The observation deck is full." "We're on our way," Jack replied. The team took their places on the bridge. Through the viewports, they could see the observation deck on the station. It was filled with aliens of all shapes and sizes. In the front row stood High Engineer Zortek, his blue skin gleaming under the lights, all four arms crossed in a posture of smug confidence. The Audacity moved slowly toward the designated testing area. A voice came over the communications channel, the Grand Arbiter of the Cooperative. "We are gathered to witness the demonstration of human engineering capability," the Arbiter announced. "The parameters are as follows. The human vessel will perform a series of maneuvers to demonstrate speed, maneuverability, and efficiency." Jack activated the external communications, Audacity acknowledging. "We are ready to begin." The first test was simple, a basic acceleration run. The Audacity performed adequately, but not spectacularly. Jack could see the aliens on the observation deck looking unimpressed. The second test involved navigating through a series of marker buoys. Again, the ship's performance was good, but nothing that would surprise an advanced spacefaring species. As they completed the standard tests, Jack could see Zortek beginning to speak to those around him, gesturing toward the Audacity with what appeared to be amusement. The alien's voice came through the comm system. "A valiant effort by our human friends," Zortek said, his tone dripping with condescension. "They have built a functional vessel in just 1 year, which is impressive for such a young species." Murmurs of agreement came from the other aliens. Perhaps in another century or two, they might approach the capabilities of even our simplest ships. Zortek continued, "But we should applaud their determination, even if the results are modest." Polite alien laughter followed. Jack looked at his team. They nodded back at him, faces serious but eyes bright with anticipation. "Admiral Wright," Jack said into his private comlink, "request permission to proceed with the full demonstration." There was a pause before she answered. "The President has been consulted. You have full authorization, Mr. Bennett. Show them what humanity can do." Jack took a deep breath and addressed the alien audience. "High Engineer Zortek, members of the Galactic Cooperative, thank you for your patience. What you've seen so far was merely our ship operating under standard propulsion." He paused, allowing his words to be translated. "Now, with your permission, we would like to demonstrate the Audacity's true capabilities." Zortek made a dismissive gesture with his lower set of arms. "By all means, human. Show us these true capabilities." Jack turned to his team. "Initiate Quantum Drive Protocol Alpha." Sam's fingers danced across his console. QDP Alpha initiated. AI systems engage. Olivia checked her readings. Quantum field stable and expanding. "Ready on your mark." Alan gripped the edge of his seat. Structural integrity field at maximum. Jack placed his hand on the main control panel. "Let's show them what humans can really do." Jack pressed the activation control. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. The Audacity hung motionless in space. On the observation deck, Zortek began to laugh. "Is this the great human achievement? A ship that—" His words cut off as the Audacity suddenly vanished. Not with a flash or a boom, but simply ceased to be where it had been. Confusion erupted among the alien delegates. Sensors across all their ships went crazy. Emergency alarms blared. "Where did they go?" the Grand Arbiter demanded. A technician at the sensor station looked up in shock. "There at the edge of the solar system. Impossible. That's over 4 billion miles away." Before anyone could process this information, the alarms sounded again. "They're back," someone shouted. The Audacity had reappeared, but not in its original position. It now hovered directly above the observation deck. so close that the aliens could see the faces of the human crew through the viewports. Jack's voice came through the communication system. First demonstration complete. The Audacity can manipulate space-time to travel instantaneously between 2 points. Stunned silence filled the observation deck. Even Zortek stood speechless, his 4 arms hanging limply at his sides. Beginning second demonstration, Jack announced. The Audacity began to move, slowly at first, then faster. It wove complex patterns around the assembled alien ships, moving in ways that defied normal physics. It accelerated at rates that should have crushed its occupants, changed direction instantly without momentum, and at one point seemed to be in 2 places simultaneously. The alien delegates watched in shocked silence. Third demonstration. Jack's calm voice continued. A small asteroid floated nearby, placed there as part of the standard maneuvering tests. The Audacity positioned itself above the massive rock. A soft blue glow emanated from the ship's unusual hull. Slowly, impossibly, the asteroid began to rise, following the ship's movement without any visible connection between them. The Audacity can manipulate gravitational fields, Jack explained. We can move objects remotely, create shields against radiation or projectiles, and even adjust the local speed of light. He paused to let that sink in. Final demonstration. The Audacity accelerated away from the station, reached the distance of Earth's moon in seconds, then stopped instantly. It turned and began to glow with bright blue light. Sensors on the alien ships suddenly went dark. Communication systems failed. Navigation computers reset. Then, just as suddenly, everything returned to normal. The Audacity floated peacefully back to its starting position. We can selectively disable electronic systems within a defined area, Jack said, without causing permanent damage. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the translation systems seemed too shocked to function. Finally, the Grand Arbiter found its voice. This technology. It violates our understanding of physics. Not violates, Jack corrected gently. Expands. We simply approach the problems differently. Zortek pushed forward. We demand to inspect this technology immediately. How does it function? What power source does it use? Admiral Wright stepped forward on the observation deck. I believe the cooperative's own rules state that proprietary systems remain the property of their creators. We would be happy to discuss technology sharing agreements once Earth is admitted as a full member of the Galactic Cooperative. The Grand Arbiter raised its hands for quiet as excited discussions broke out. The demonstration is complete and far exceeds the parameters set. As per our agreement, Earth is hereby granted full membership in the Galactic Cooperative, with all rights and privileges thereof. Later, as celebrations began across Earth, the crew of the Audacity gathered in the observation lounge. Through the viewports, they could see their home planet shining blue and green against the blackness of space. What happens now? Olivia asked quietly. Jack looked at his team, at Sam's tired smile, at Alan's scared but proud face, at Olivia's brilliant eyes. Now, he said, we start building the next one. He raised his coffee mug in a toast. To humanity's future among the stars. And to the look on Zortek's face, Sam added with a grin. They all laughed. The sound of human laughter, floating out into the vast universe that no longer seemed quite so intimidating.